A story that has been played out for years amid documents, confidential meetings, and underlying tensions is suddenly exploding into the open. Cardinals, bishops, and key figures in the crisis are speaking openly. The statements are public. The accusations are direct. And at the center of it all is once again the priestly fraternity of St. Pius X, the Traditionalist movement that for decades has represented one of the most sensitive issues for Rome. This is not a marginal controversy. It is not an academic dispute between theologians. It is a clash that touches the very heart of the Church. The authority of the Pope, the obedience of the faithful, and the relationship with Catholic tradition. And in recent weeks, this tension has emerged with a clarity not seen in a long time. Everything heats up when Cardinal Sarah decides to publicly intervene in the situation. The African cardinal, known worldwide for his strong positions on the liturgy and the defense of Catholic doctrine, breaks his silence and sends a very clear message. The central point of his speech is only one: we must avoid a schism. Sarah calls on traditionalists to be cautious and reminds them that the unity of the Church cannot be jeopardized. According to the Cardinal, any initiative that risks leading to new episcopal consecrations without Rome's consent could create a serious and lasting rift. His appeal revolves around one key word: obedience. For Sarah, fidelity to the Church necessarily involves recognizing the authority of the Pope and the hierarchy. Without this obedience, he warns, the very structure of the Church risks being weakened. But this very word, obedience, becomes the detonator of the controversy. The Society of St. Pius X responds, and the response is surprisingly harsh. In a text released through its official channels, the Society openly criticizes Cardinal Sarah's intervention. According to the Society's priests, the problem isn't obedience itself, but the way it's presented. Their accusation is serious. Sarah ended up transforming obedience into a sort of absolute principle, almost elevating it to the same level as faith. And here lies the most controversial issue. According to the fraternity, obedience cannot become an idol. It cannot be separated from the truth of faith and the continuity of the Church's tradition. The reasoning is straightforward. If ecclesiastical authority promotes reforms or teachings that, in the eyes of many faithful, appear to conflict with Catholic tradition, then obedience cannot be automatically invoked. In other words, obedience is a virtue only when it remains ordered to the truth. If, however, it is used to demand silence in the face of what some perceive as a crisis of faith, it risks turning into something else entirely, a false obedience. The fraternity also insists on another decisive point. According to this interpretation, the problem didn't arise today. It didn't arise with a single decision or a recent document. The problem, they argue, has roots in the last 60 years. In the period following the Second Vatican Council, they argue, a process developed that profoundly transformed the life of the Church, a process that affected the liturgy, pastoral care, and the very presentation of Catholic doctrine. And this is precisely why the fraternity considers the simple call to obedience insufficient. First, they argue the crisis must be addressed. As this debate heats up, a figure no one expected to see intervene with such frankness enters the debate: Cardinal Joseph Zen. The Cardinal starts from a very clear point. Schism must be avoided. A division in the church, he warns, would cause serious and lasting damage. Ecclesial fractures, history reminds us, can leave wounds that last for centuries. But Zen doesn't stop there. Alongside the need to defend the unity of the church, the cardinal raises a second, perhaps even more delicate, question. The question of conscience. And he asks a question that strikes like a bolt of lightning in the Catholic debate. How can someone be forced to follow teachings that, in their conscience, seem to deny the sacred tradition of the Church? This is a question that reaches to the heart of the crisis. For Zen, the drama of consciences cannot simply be ignored. If some believers perceive a tension between recent innovations and what the Church has always taught, this problem must be addressed. The Cardinal also expressed strong doubts about the possibility of a dialogue between the Society and the Dicastery for the doctrine of the faith, leading to concrete results. The reference is to Cardinal Fernandez, prefect of the Dicastery. Zen suggests that anyone perceived as promoting a theological line distant from tradition will have a hard time understanding the Society's reasons. But Zen's intervention does not stop at the disciplinary question. The Cardinal addresses one of the most explosive issues of recent decades: the liturgy. According to Zen, it is clearly a mistake to try to eliminate or marginalize the Mass in the traditional Roman Rite. He adds a controversial consideration. The Novus Ordo, he claims, did not fully respect the intentions of the Council Fathers. A sentence that reopens a debate that has been raging within the Church for over half a century. Yet despite these criticisms, Cardinal Zen concludes with a surprisingly confident tone. In fact, he invites us to place our trust in Pope Leo XIV. According to the Cardinal of Hong Kong, the new pontiff is a person capable of listening. A figure who could help the Church distinguish between the true teaching of the Second Vatican Council and what has been presented over the years as the so-called spirit of the Council. And it is precisely here that the attention of many observers is focused today, because the pontiff finds himself at the center of attention that pervades the entire Church. On the one hand, there is the authority of the hierarchy and the need to preserve ecclesial unity. On the other, there is growing unease among many faithful who fear seeing tradition progressively weakened. The confrontation between Cardinal Sarah, the Society of St. Pius X, and Cardinal Zen shows with impressive clarity that the issue is not merely disciplinary, it's a fundamental question. What really is obedience in the Church? What is the boundary between fidelity to authority and fidelity to tradition? These are questions that are crossing the Catholic world today with ever greater force. What do you think? If you liked the video, comment Amen. God bless you.